What's up, family? This is Brother Sharif. Welcome to another episode of the Family Meeting. In today's meeting, we're conversing with a sister who is simultaneously a mother and a leader in engineering. This woman has top secret and sensitive compartmentalized information security clearances. If you've ever been vetted for any type of clearance, you know the kind of upright character to which that speaks. This woman is an independent candidate for Vice President of the United States of America and the running mate of Jade Simmons, independent candidate for President of the United States of America. Her name is Claudeliah Roze. That's Rose with a Z. Join me and get to know her better. Stay tuned, take notes, and let me know if you have any questions. Hello, Miss Rose. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to converse with me. How are you today?
I am excellent, Brother Sharif. Would you like me to refer to you as Brother Sharif or Marcus?
Brother Sharif, please.
Okay, I am doing well, Brother Sharif. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for asking. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. We've spoken with your running mate in the past about the platform and everything, and I just want my people to be able to get a broader picture of who you are.
Okay.
All right. For those of you who do not know, Ms. Claudeliah Roze was recently tapped as the running mate for independent U.S. presidential candidate Jade Simmons. If elected, you'll be the 49th vice president. How does it feel? Are you excited?
I am extremely excited, Brother Sharif. I am extremely excited. This is a great opportunity. Not just an opportunity, though, but it really speaks to, I think, Jade's desire to connect with people who truly do have a heart for the American people. And I think that I know that she saw that in me and someone who shared the vision with her. So this has been incredible.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. Now, before we go any further, could you give us an overview of who you are personally and professionally?
Absolutely. So my educational background is as an electrical engineer. That's and with a minor in mathematics as well. For the past 20 plus years, I've worked in the aerospace, defense, and intelligence industries. My role now is as a technology director with a large aerospace and defense company. Most of my roles have really dealt with developing cutting edge technologies, working with teams to do that, as well as serve in key and leading engineering roles on large programs that deliver amazing capabilities to our warfighters.
All right, thank you. Now, in addition to being an engineer for 20 years, more than 20 years now, you're also a mother of two, correct?
I am. I have two amazing 8-year-old children, a daughter and a son. They are truly the joy of my life. And so that in addition to a full-time engineer and developing the career as a professional, I have that background as having to handle both areas. I'm very familiar with the plight, the challenges, and the joys of being a working mother.
So how do the children feel about you and your new political life?
You know what, that is so interesting that you asked that, Brother Sharif. I will tell you, I think the little bit I've learned about your background, I take it that you're a man of faith. And
Yes,
so
ma'am.
when I say this next statement, I think it will resonate with you. They were actually the first ones who brought it up about a year or so ago. And so we talk about out of the mouth of babes, comes forth this knowledge and wisdom and things like this. But we were actually at dinner one night. And one of the things that we do as a family, we stay abreast of current issues and current topics. We talk about everything from politics to technology. We're actually at dinner one night, and they had the big screen on, and it was actually talking about, this is when Bernie Sanders was still in the race, and it was talking about Bernie Sanders and his political platform. And it was also at the time of Donald Trump's impeachment practice or process. And so the children were asking, what is impeachment? Who is Bernie Sanders? What does he want to do for the United States? And we just had a really great conversation about all those things and how it will affect them in their lives and future generations. And so when we kind of had had that long drawn out conversation, my daughter pipes up and says, "Mom, I think you make a great president." And you kind of tuck those things away,
Yeah.
right? And I said, "Well, why would you think that?" And she said, "Well, you're kind and you're smart and you understand the process." And we kind of talked about that. So then speed forward a year and a half later when this opportunity comes up, and it made me think, like, I think my children were on to something after all. But to answer your question, they are extremely excited. They started to educate themselves as well on the roles of a vice president and how we would need to serve as examples as we're leading our country.
Yeah, we probably need to write down all of those qualities that your daughter was attributing to you and make those part of the qualifications for positions in the executive branch.
I could not agree more, Brother
We
Sharif.
need kind people and considerate people. Now, being a parent is a job itself, but
Hmm.
looking at your engineering career, we've only had one president or vice president that I'm aware of who was an engineer. I believe it was Herbert Hoover
Hmm. Yep.
was an engineer. Looking at your long celebrated career, you've been awarded and recognized throughout the years. Looking at your engineering career as well as your parenting and that executive MBA that you have from Duke, what transferable skills have you picked up that could be used in your vice presidential role?
Absolutely. So if you've looked at the role of the vice president, you'll see that several things are pointed out. One is that the vice president is the top advisor to the president. A couple other things that you'll see is that he is also responsible for being that bridge between the senators and representatives to the president and the other way around. And he or she also leads several initiatives that the president taps them to do. These are all things that I have done in my 20 plus years within industry, and in addition to things I've done outside of work. In terms of the role of an advisor, both in my role as a technology director and in other roles that I've had before, I've had that role as a trusted advisor, where you're really required to, Brother Sharif, being able to hear the voices of the people and the people that you serve, being able to distill and filter that information to some of the key points, and being able to provide that to the leaders that are trusting you to provide them with that information. The other part of that is being able to then take the directions and the vision of the leaders that you're serving, and then be able to lay out that roadmap and that execution plan to how then we're going to instruct the people to follow that. Those are duties that I've had my entire career. Those are duties that I'm well versed in, that I love to do. The other part of that too is being able to walk that path and being able to what I will call serve as the mediator, especially when there are issues that are of high consequence and when their tempers are flaring on each side. In multiple roles that I've had in the corporations that I've worked in before, this has been my job exactly, to hear what both roles are, to hear what both sides are saying, and then be able to get to the meat of the issue. What are some of the core issues that are really at heart here? And then how do we develop solutions that it doesn't make everybody happy at the end of the day, but it's something that the team can agree on that we need to do to move forward.
Great. It sounds like you have some crisis management skills mixed in
Crisis
there.
management, culture change. And a big part of that, though, Brother Sharif, is making sure that people know that you are listening to what they truly listening to what they have to say. I think that is a characteristic that we have lost in our leadership journey at times. If we look at the debate last night, I think there was a great dearth of listening on both sides. And how can you develop solutions? How can you truly serve your people if you're not even able to listen to them?
I think that was the whole point, to avoid having to answer questions and to prevent others from answering questions.
That was a tough debate to sit through.
Like you couldn't really take anything from that except the fact that Joe Biden loves his children, which we already knew. He was a family guy. Now, you
Absolutely.
mentioned initiatives. Everyone in the White House, from the first lady to the vice president to the second lady, they normally have initiatives. Do you
Absolutely.
already have initiatives in mind that you would like to tackle?
I certainly do. So if you've read my bio, Brother Sharif, you know that I come from a strong military family.
Yes.
Both my mom and my dad served in the U.S. Army. And then out of their 6 children, 3 served actively as well. And then I myself have a Department of Defense civilian background as well. So right off the top of the bat, military service, how we support and protect our veterans from boot camp to retirement and beyond is very, very near and dear to my heart. When I see metrics like our suicide rates increasing among our military servicemen and women, that hits me directly because we put them at the battlefield. We put them at the front, and they do that out of the goodness of their heart. This is the one thing that I think is great about the United States, is that we do still have voluntary service. And so these are men and women who are making that decision to say, I want to serve my company, my country. And I think that's incredibly honorable. So it's a burden to me when these individuals who are sacrificing their lives and their family by being on the front line, by taking multiple deployments, by spending lots of time away from their family and the horrors that they see, that then they come home and they're still struggling either with PTSD, not getting the support in terms of mental health services or even family services that they need. That's an extreme injustice and disservice to the individuals who are serving our country. So making sure that we support them is of incredible importance to me. The second thing is criminal justice reform. I grew up in a small town in Southern Illinois, and we saw the war on drugs hit hard.
Mm.
The day that I graduated from high school, less than a month afterwards, there were at least a dozen of the boys that I went to school with that were arrested and then went to prison for at least a dozen or so years. These were people that came to my house, that we grew up with, that we played with, and for some small amount of marijuana, which is now becoming legalized, they lost 12 years of their lives, in addition to the opportunity to participate as a voting citizen, as a citizen with opportunities within this United States. We need to do better. So one of the things that is near and dear to my heart is not just breaking what I call the high school to prison pipeline, but also making sure that we turn a stronger eye towards clemency projects that are now working to free those who are incarcerated who are actually innocent. That's a big deal to me as well. And then the third thing, as an African American woman, near and dear to my heart, is also the inequalities that we see in terms of race in our nation as well. I don't see how anyone can turn a blind eye to that right now. And given the support that is now not just US wide, but worldwide for change in this area, this is the right time to do it. And if we neglect to make radical changes right now, then we have missed our moment.
I definitely agree. Now, I was expecting you to mention military. I come from a large family, a wing of which has served in every military conflict this country has fought in, actually, except
Wow.
the Revolutionary War. Uh, so I was expecting that. You have 12 siblings, right?
That's awesome. I thought 6 was big, but 12 by
No,
far
I
bigger
don't.
than
How many
that.
siblings do you have?
It's 6 of us.
There's 6 of you. I'm sorry. I thought it was 12 of you.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no, it's 6 of us. It's 6.
I-
Trying to add
I'm
a little
trying to
bit more on that,
retroactively
huh?
stress your parents out. I thought it was 12 of you.
No, it's 6.
It's 6. Okay. Now, in addition to the military service, you also had an educator in the household, correct?
Absolutely. My mom.
Okay.
Yes.
That probably contributed to some of your love of reading.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. From the time that I can remember, things that, the highlight of our weekends were going to the library and checking out books, spending time there and reading. My mom's motto has always been readers are leaders. And, I take that even now to my children, and not only to my children, but I'll just say, Brother Sharif, to our Black community as well, and to others outside of it. Education itself provides such a vehicle to opportunity and to advancement. My brother has said to me many times, he said, I've heard that if you want to hide something from a group of people, put it in a book, because sometimes we are the least likely to read and educate ourselves. And as you listen to Operation Restoration, you will hear us, a loud voice telling people, don't just believe what you see in the media. Don't just believe the hype, the top 10 headlines that come out to you that says you can either vote one of two ways. You have options. And if you choose to exercise your right to vote as an American citizen, something that many generations have fought hard for, you also have the right to make sure that your choice is educated.
Thank you. Now, from what I've heard from you so far, I hear the value for military and wanting to protect military families, wanting to protect marginalized people, prison reform, as well as a value for education and mental health. I can see where your concerns and planned initiatives fit nicely into those platforms that Ms. Simmons has. But I'm curious, how did you two come together? Did you know each other previously? Did your daughter make you send your resume to her?
Oh, that's funny. Fantastic questions. Um, Actually, so if you've read Jade's bio as well, you'll see that she actually transitioned from a full-time concert pianist to then being a corporate speaker. And so the company that I work for now, we invited her in to be a keynote speaker for one of our leadership offsites. So every year, my directors and executive directors bring their top leaders together. We go off site somewhere. Usually we fly off to some other location where we really just focus on change. We focus on moving our organization, not just incrementally, but in radical ways, to make sure that we're moving our business forward. And then for us as a technology company, that we're pushing forward our organization technically as well. And so they brought in Jade as a motivational speaker. And I'll tell you, I wasn't only impressed, it was a life-changing moment for me. On a number of two points. One is that I've never seen a motivational speaker combine faith and purpose and excellence the way that I'd seen Jade do that. And so that was one way that I was really impressed. Usually within corporate America, you don't really talk about politics and you don't really talk about religion. And so to bring together this group of executive leaders and still be able to hit home with them, even while talking confidently about her faith, it really moved me. The other point was I was at a decision point in my life at that time on some really drastic career changes that I wanted to make at the moment. And when Jade started to talk about purpose and the importance of grabbing and holding on to the purpose that you have for your life and moving that forward, letting that be the determining factor for the decisions that you make in your life, I knew I needed to connect with her in some way, because frankly, Brother Sharif, I was getting tired of living life. I'd been living life with an amount of intention, right, of intentionality and purpose, but I knew that it was time to go to the next level. And so after that speaking engagement, Jade and I connected, off and on over the next couple of years, sometimes really in earnest, and then other times just maybe exchanging emails here and there. Once I heard that she was running for president, I really got excited about that. I was starting grad school at that time, and so I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of time, but I was like, I have your back. Let me know what I can do to help. And when she started her search for a vice president, I actually threw a couple names her way that I thought would be fantastic vice presidents for her. And then at the end, she was like, I think you are the person that I've been looking for all this time. And so that was just an incredible, vote of confidence. And that's how we've started our journey. Yeah.
That's great. I'm curious, who were some of those other names that you tossed out to her?
Those are other names that we will keep nameless, Brother.
Okay.
But you know what? They are excellent people who have still contributed to the campaign as top advisors. So you will see their names pop up here pretty soon.
Great. I'll be looking forward to it. Now, I'm not going to ask you to go through all of Operation Restoration's platforms, um, and all of those different pieces that fall under those platforms, because we've discussed those with Miss Simmons and we have that interview already available. But is there anything, well, if you were asked to add something, add another pillar, is there anything else that you would add if solicited?
Absolutely. You know what I'd love to see, and now that I'm thinking about it, I think I will actually talk to Jade about adding this to that. If you'll see on our website, we are working towards 20 different policies that are important to Operation Restoration. Some that are in draft form right now, which will be posted soon, are our policies on military and veteran, policies for Native American and criminal justice reform. So stay tuned for those.
Yeah.
Another policy, though, that I would love to add to that would be one that highlights the importance and the example of leadership. And what I would like to be in that policy is, we talk a lot about leaders. We've seen various examples in the political scene, in the business scene, and over several years, if you look back at the last decade, what we start to see with some of our leaders are, once they get into public office, once they get into these public arenas, you start to see these different failings of either morality or legality, things like this. One of the things I would love for us to point out, for leadership and driving a new level and expectation for leadership in the United States, is that leadership does not mean that you control all the power. It doesn't mean that what I say goes and everyone else must bow down to what I say, and that I am a steamroller over any other voices that would contest mine. What it really means is that you, as a leader, are to set the highest example of accountability, of transparency, of respect to others. That is actually the mandate that's on us as leaders. And that's something that you're going to see Jade and I carry forward. Even in small decisions that we make within this campaign, just having the utmost level of excellence is incredibly important to us. And that is actually the burden that we feel that we carry as leaders.
Great, great. So I guess we could look forward to some leadership programs from the two of you.
Yeah.
Helps harness the power of some of these people out there that are being underutilized.
Absolutely. I love that. And I'm feeling inspired already at your at your recommendation. And I say yes to that. Absolutely. What you will see from Jade and I is not perfection, but you will see a consistent striving towards excellence.
Good, good, good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, I'm a member of many politically involved communities. Early in Mrs. Simmons' campaign, ballot access was a big issue. As I was looking at the update today, she's made a great deal of progress. I was just speaking with a friend. I have one friend that's already decided that she's riding with Jade. I have
Wow.
another
Okay.
friend, instead of watching I'm not going to call it what the analyst called it, instead of watching the show, I'm going to call it the show last night.
You're so kind. You are so kind.
This is because I'm speaking with a lady. Um, but instead of watching the show last night, he was following Mrs. Simmons' responses to the debate. Now, there are a total of 538 electoral votes out there, to be grabbed by whomever. There are only 270 that are required to lock down the presidency.
That's right.
Right now, with the states that you all are certified write-in candidates and the two where you're actually going to appear on the ballot, it appears that you have access to about 320 electoral votes, which would be more than enough to lock down that seat. Um, my question is there any network or team building going on in these different states to make sure you mobilize voters? We have a lot of disillusioned people out here that are saying they're not going to vote at all. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you all are working in these different states to actually connect and to make believers of the disbelievers again.
Absolutely, and that is one of the target demographic that we are really speaking to, and that really find a home in Operation Restoration. Most of those, the reason that they are not voting is because they don't hear their concerns being resonating with the two candidates this year. So absolutely, we have launched a 17 plus state tour. We actually launched it about 3 weeks ago, and we have been touring over the United States and connecting with each of these groups in the last several weeks. That tour won't end until sometime next month, and so we are hitting the ground hard and making sure that we do that. We actually are getting ready to have multiple teams do that, so we can cover as much ground as we can before the election. So the answer to your question is absolutely, and yes, we've laid out a plan for that, mostly to target those states that are some of the what we call battleground states. Right, we have a key focus on those. We obviously have a strategy for those states where we will be on the ballot to make sure that we have the number of votes that are needed in those states. So yes, we have laid out the plan and we are executing.
Those states where you are appearing outright, what are those? Is it Oklahoma and Louisiana?
Oklahoma and Louisiana, correct.
Okay, great. But like I said, you're actually a certified write-in candidate on many, many other states, including Georgia, where
Yeah,
I so I was glad to see that. Now there are some other places where it's still being challenged.
correct.
Is the ruling in South Carolina still being contested?
That is still being contested. We recently won a victory in Arizona. That was one of the states that we were challenged as well. We recently got that victory.
Good.
Thankfully, we do still have less than a handful of states, though, that we are still challenging.
Okay. All right, great. And now, are you connecting with any organizations out there that are political organizations but don't necessarily have a party home, such as Our Party? I don't know if
Mm,
you're familiar with Our Party, with what's it? I want to call him West Bellamy. I don't want to mess up the man's name in Virginia.
okay, so I am not familiar myself.
Okay.
I would definitely touch bases with Jade and our operations team to see if they've reached out there. But you're giving me some actions here. Thank you.
Okay. And I was just curious now. They're I think they're predominantly in that Virginia area.
Okay.
Um, Now, I'm also curious, how can we follow you all? Are we still just following the Operation Restoration page on Facebook? Will we be getting alerts about you all coming into these different states? Or how else are you going to be communicating with people that are interested in following and actually connecting with you when you come to these different areas?
So there are several ways you can join through our Facebook group, www.operationrestoration2020.com. That's the actual official site. We also do have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and Instagram. You can connect either one of those ways, and there's also a way that you can text to 33777 to get up to date information on your cell phone.
Great. And I'll be putting that information in the end of this video so people can see that as well. Now we have about 3 minutes left, and I would like to give you to the floor to say whatever you feel needs to be said. I don't want to miss anything. So,
Absolutely. And before I launch into my spiel, I do want to thank you again, Brother Sharif, for your time,
so thank
for for using your platform to make sure that your listeners are educated on all of their candidate opportunities. I think that actually shows a real show of integrity on your part, and so I do thank you for that. So, in final note, what I
Well, I'm sorry. Before we get to your final note, that just reminded me of one more question. I'm ex-
okay,
I'm expecting Mrs. Simmons to go live and stream answering questions to the remaining debates if
yeah,
they actually happen. I believe the Commission on Presidential Debates is actually meeting and working on changing rules
yeah,
today.
I
So
saw that. I
for
saw
that,
that.
and I'm glad because I was disturbed last night. So I'm expecting her to still go live and answer questions. But when we get to the vice presidential debates, can we expect to see you going live on some platform as well and responding to questions?
Yes, you can. October 7th. Stay tuned.
All right, great. I'll be looking forward to it. I'm following you on Instagram already. Now back to giving you the floor and take as much time as you need since I interrupted you again.
No worries. Thank you. In final words, what I would say, we are in a momentous time within our nation. At the same time that we have not seen these levels of upheaval and unrest, it's also been an amazing time for people's voices that have not traditionally been heard. They have voiced those. We as a Black community have not seen the rallying of even corporations around injustice and around um, around equality for our community that we've seen today. The thing that I want to point out, though, is that it's not only about the Black community, but when we invest in multiple areas of our nation, especially those who have traditionally and historically been disenfranchised, it lifts the nation as a whole. So when we think about where the United States needs to go forward from today, how we need to come back together in unity as a nation, I encourage you to not just take a look at our policies, but educate yourself on the candidate that you believe has the ability to bring us back to that point. We're really at a point that we could either go one of two ways right now. And I'll tell you, Brother Sharif, and I'll tell the rest of your community, what is needed right now is a voice of reason. What's needed right now is a voice also of empathy. What's needed right now is also a true voice of leadership that can bring back these United States of America and make sure that we can work together to build back our nation. And I'll tell you, it's not going to be just by building up law enforcement. It's not just going to be by building up Proud Boys. It's going to be by listening to each of the different demographics and groups that we have within the United States and plotting together a course for us to move forward together. If you feel like that voice is lacking right now, make sure you educate yourself on what other choices are out there that can do it. Your vote matters. We know as a Black community that there are multiple people who have died to have that opportunity for us to vote. And it's not just about casting your ballot for the one that you think has the best chance of winning. It's about casting your vote for the one who will help you to create and work with you to create the United States of America that we've always hoped that it would be.
Well, Miss Claudeliah Roze with a Z. I've been seeing it misspelled in several places. Claudeliah Roze with a Z. I want to thank you so much again for taking out time tonight to allow us to get to know you a little bit better. We're looking forward to more of what comes from your campaign. And
Absolutely.
best wishes, okay? I'll be praying for you.
Thank you so much. God bless you, Brother Sharif. Thank you again for hosting us on your platform.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a great night.
I will, you as well.
Hey, family. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Family Meeting. Today we spoke with Claudeliah Roze, independent candidate for Vice President of the United States of America. For more information on her running mate Jade Simmons, and Operation Restoration 2020, check the web address in the credits. Also, for more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the Brother Sharif YouTube channel and look out for the Family Meeting hashtag. Like the Hood News Network and Whole Fat Laughter Facebook pages. Follow at Brother Sharif on Instagram and at Ejaculating Pen on Twitter. Keep your eyes open for the next episode.